Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Money Monday. I'm excited to be here. It's Nakia Carter. We're going to get started at promptly 9 o'clock, and then people can join on as they can or watch the replay. Let's talk about Money Monday. So, tonight we're going to be talking about marriage and money. Oh, my goodness. If you're in a relationship, if you're splitting finances with someone, if you're married, if you're living with someone, if you're up on this whole 50-50 debacle debate, this is the live for you. I'm going to be breaking down what it looks like to be successful in your marriage with money, how you can do that, how you and your spouse can get on the same page, and all of that good stuff. So let me see who we have in here right now. Let me get to swiping. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Candy. I hope you're having an excellent Monday start to your week. These weeks are just, zipping past. It seems like I blink and it's time for another Money Monday, but I'm excited to do them. I'm excited to be sharing this information, just giving you a different perspective, my perspective, giving you some ideas. Hopefully you can take away some things and all that good stuff. So thanks for joining. I appreciate you so much. And it's 9 o'clock. So we're going to get started. And let's go. Now, as I said, we're going to be talking about marriage and money. And this is really the number one reason for divorce in America. It's about finances. It's about money. You know, you just have two people that cannot get on the same page. They can't get it right. There's a lot of fussing, a lot of fighting, and these relationships break up, right? So as I said a couple seconds ago, I'm going to be tailoring this episode of Money Monday to couples, specifically married couples, and really giving you some ideas about how you can successfully manage your money when you're in partnership with someone. Okay. Now, whole 50-50 debate has been all over social media. Let's get something straight right now. If you are married, if you have papers on somebody, if you have their last name, if they have your last name, if you all are living together and you are recognized as a married couple, wherever you are, there is no such thing as 50-50 in marriages. 50-50 in a marriage happens during divorce. Okay. So if you are married, if you're in a committed relationship, there is absolutely no reason that you should be talking about 50-50 at all. It's not 50-50. It's 100-100. If you want to be 50-50, if you want to go 50-50, you headed for divorce. Okay. So let's get that out the way. Those 50-50 conversations are more so for people who are living together. Maybe they're not married. Maybe they've been together for an extended period of time. It's for roommates, that type of thing, but it's absolutely not for married people. Okay. So let's get that out the way. But it then begs the question, how do you manage your money with your spouse, right? When you are in a committed relationship, even if you're not married, what does that look like? How can you make it easier conversation? Because talking about money in a relationship is hard. It's difficult. And so it takes some maturity. It takes some simplification. It takes you guys getting on the same page so that you can be hitting the same targets. Okay. Now, if you're married and you're kind of struggling with your money with your spouse, there are some things that you can do. The first thing that you need to do is a money checkup or a money inventory. Now, with the money checkup, it's a little bit different than the money inventory, and I've explained the money inventory last week. I'll go into it in a second, but a money checkup is just looking at your income. It's looking at your spending. It's looking at your debts. It's looking at your obligations. It's looking at your expenses. If you have addictions or habits, you're looking at all of that with your spouse. Even if you don't like what's happening, you need to know what's happening, because if you're in partnership with someone or you're in a marriage with someone and you guys are splitting expenses, it can get very tricky. Okay. So you need to know how much your spouse is bringing in, right? You need to know how much they're spending on this, how much they're spending on that. You need to talk about what debts you all have. What are their credit cards looking like? What are their student loans looking like? Are they taking out any additional loans? What does that landscape look like? You need to talk about what obligations they have, right? To be in a marriage with somebody and not really know how much they're spending in child support if they have other children, to not really know how much money they're putting into their business. To not know those key factors is really going to put you in a position where you don't have that transparency and you don't have that honesty. So doing a money checkup will help you do that. Basically, with the money checkup, you're looking at anything that's going to impact your day-to-day lifestyle. So anything that's going to determine if you could go out to Ruth Chris or Red Lobster, if you're going to be able to shop at the thrift store or Neiman Marcus, you need to be having those conversations. Like I said, even if you don't like what's happening, you need to know what's happening so that we can address it and we can move forward. Now, a money checkup is a little different than a money inventory. With the money inventory, you're actually looking at specifically only the income coming in and the expenses going out and then the debts. With a money checkup, you're looking at the overall money landscape of each person in this partnership, in this relationship. After you finish your money checkup or your money inventory, now you need to look at your credit scores and your credit reports. How much in student loans do they have? Have they filed for bankruptcy? How much in credit cards do they have? You need to look at those reports. There are a lot of jokes in America about credit scores, but somebody's credit score, somebody's credit report is going to give you an insight into who you're dealing with, right? Are you dealing with somebody that made mistakes maybe 5 or 6 years ago? Or are you looking at somebody who's currently not paying their bills, right? Or are you looking at somebody who's currently maxing out their credit cards? Or are you dealing with somebody that maybe maxed out their credit cards in college and they're trying to pay them off? So it's going to really tell you the truth about who you're dealing with financially, and then how you can move forward with that person if you want to move forward, and some things that you can do, right? You want to look at their score. Credit scores are used by everybody. And if you are in a position where you want to buy a house, the wrong time to be figuring out your spouse's credit score is when you're trying to pre-qualify for a home. You need to know what their credit score is, what's on their credit report, so that you can make informed decisions and it won't impact your day-to-day lifestyle too much, okay? Now, after you do those two things, then you want to talk about budgeting. I don't know why people hate budgets like the plague. They avoid them like the plague. I don't know. I personally love budgets. I know why they do, but I love them. And with creating your budget, you want to make sure that it works for you. Okay, so you got to choose something that you both can stick with, you both can live with. Because if you set up a budget where one person doesn't feel that it's fair, or your spouse doesn't feel that it fits their lifestyle, that it doesn't benefit them, it's going to fail. Okay, so what you have to do is create a budget that works for both of you all and works for your household. Now, the thing with budgeting, especially when you're in a marriage and you're talking about money, is that a budget creates transparency. And it's something about transparency that really builds that trust. And you need that in a marriage. You need to be able to see what's going in, what's coming out. You need to be held accountable, right? If I know that if I spend $500 on something or whatever, that my husband is going to find out, or he's going to know, or he's going to see that expense, that's probably going to limit the chances of me doing that, spending that money frivolously. So you need that transparency in your budget. It's going to help you all get on the same page. If this person wants to do this and this person wants to do that, it's not going to work. You guys are doing two different things. Now, whatever you choose, and there are millions of ways to budget, from envelopes to calendars to spreadsheets. And that's what I live by in my household. That's what we use, is a spreadsheet, an app on our phone. And that's what I teach in the Money Reset. It's 1,000,001 ways that you can budget your money. You have, and I've talked about it on Money Mondays, you have percentages, the 50-30-20 rule, the 10-40-60, whatever. That's not real, but I'm just throwing it out there. I'm making this up. You have all these different budgets. What's most important is that you find a budget that works for you within your relationship, within your household, and your lifestyle. Okay, so do what works for you. Figure out who's going to pay what, right? Is this person going to be responsible for paying this? This person is going to make sure that the mortgage gets paid. This person is going to handle the life insurance. Are you guys going to have a joint main bank account where most of the money goes to one account? Or are you going to keep things separate? What is the system that you're going to use? That's really what you're trying to figure out when you're dealing with your co-budget, just to make sure that you guys are on the same page and it's something that you can stick to. Anybody can create a budget, but not everybody sticks to them. So you really want to make sure that it's something that you both can live with and that's going to be successful for you. Okay. Fourth is tax review. What are their outstanding obligations? What are your outstanding obligations? I would hate to be getting a $10,000 refund back on my return and it's snatched because my husband has outstanding student loans, or because your wife didn't pay whatever, she has a garnishment or she owes whatever, and they're snatching your money. So when you're thinking about your tax obligations in your tax review, you want to see like what is outstanding, what's owed, what does their tax situation look like? Are you guys filing together? Are you filing separate? This is a good time to look at your W-4 to make sure that you're having enough money withheld from your paycheck and they're having enough money withheld from their paycheck as well. So in this process, right, in this marriage and this money and all these things go together to make up this huge pie and this big piece of the puzzle that's going to really help you be successful when it comes to marriage and your relationship. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not trying to be arguing with my husband every 2 weeks, bi-weekly about no money. And so doing these steps will help you. Fifth, you got to set the stage. So what are the money rules that you're going to live by in your marriage? Is it going to be, we don't spend over $200, $300, $500, $1,000, whatever, without consulting with each other, right? We don't take on new debt without consulting with each other, without talking about it. We don't do X, Y, and Z without talking about it. Set those rules now. What are the roles are going to be, right? Are you going to have somebody that's going to be more responsible for the budget than the other person? Are they going to, whatever it is, whatever role they're going to take, are they going to focus on the mortgage and one person pays everything else, the utilities? I hate that idea, by the way. What are the roles going to be? You have to figure out what your money personality is, right? There are 5 main money personalities. If I'm a investor and my spouse is a big spender, it's going to be very rocky. So we have to talk about that and set that expectation from the onset so that we are both on the same page and we know what's going on. How will you handle pay differences? So you see this a lot with people where one spouse makes more than the other spouse, right? Maybe they're making 2 or 3 or 4 times more than the other spouse. How are you going to handle that? Because a lot of times in marriage, what you have when you have that situation is you have 2 people living completely different lifestyles. You have this person making 6 figures and you have this person that's making $30,000, $40,000. Maybe they're a teacher, whatever the situation is, but it's a very, very large pay difference. And you guys need to talk about how we're going to handle that up front. Because if I'm making half of what you make, or you're making half of what I make, and we're married or we're in partnership, it's unreasonable for you to think that I'm going to pay half the bills or I'm going to be able to match you dollar for dollar. And then you have to set the stage for your priorities. So what is it that you want to do? Because if your wife wants to save as much money as she can and then retire in the next 10 years, and you want to save as much money as you can and move to Costa Rica, that's going to be a problem. Okay. So you have to figure out what your money priorities are so that when you guys are moving financially, you're moving in the sync, you're moving in the same direction. Now, as you're going through this process, what I want to tell you is it's easy, but it's not simple. Backwards. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's very simple to do, but money is such a touchy subject. Just think about like how we guard how much we make, right? It's very sensitive. It's very touchy. And so you're going to have to give yourself grace. You're going to have to give your spouse grace as well. There are some goals of this process that you want to make sure that you keep in mind so that as you're going forward, it doesn't create a sore spot in the relationship. It's not something that's a really tough area to navigate. You can't really have conversations because somebody gonna flip out. That's not what you want. Okay. So let's talk about the goals of this process. Within this process, the number one thing that you want to be is honest. Even if you have over $100,000 in student loans, even if you have an addiction that your spouse doesn't know about, maybe you've been shopping, maybe you've been, you got a drug problem. Sorry to say, but people have drug problems. Maybe you have an addiction, whatever it is, you have to be honest so that your spouse knows what they're dealing with and you know what you're dealing with. You want to create transparency. Like I said, I love accountability. I believe in transparency, especially when it comes to my money inside my household. And so during this process will help you create that transparency, and it'll help you create that trust. You want to make sure that you're not being judgmental and that you're not shaming your partner. People make mistakes, right? And we do things that maybe like we thought was a good idea, but it wasn't. Maybe we were out of our mind in that moment. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're creating that safe space so that your partner can be honest and you can be honest with them as well. You have to get on the same page. If this person is on this page and this person on this page, something is misaligned. You know, the main character done died in between these pages and don't nobody know because you guys are on different pages. So you have to focus on getting on the same page with your spouse with money so that you can develop those healthy habits and move forward in peace. Find what works for you all. Like I said earlier, there are a million, probably 2 million, 2 million ways that you can budget your money, that you can split the bills, that you can take on different roles, that you can do this, that you can do that. But whatever it is, and whoever does whatever, you have to make sure it works for you, because if it works for me and I'm not in your household, it's not going to matter. So find what works for you all. Figure out what the cadence is going to be. Are you going to have bi-weekly meetings, or is it going to be something that you talk about monthly? Or are you going to talk about it quarterly? Just figure out a cadence that works for you all. And then figure out how you're going to handle money and family. You know, people have big hearts. And so if your husband, you know, is trying to buy a house, you guys want to buy a house, he's not going to care that your niece needs new tires for her car. So that's something that you guys need to set the expectation for up front so that it's not a surprise, it's not a point of contention, and you're not fussing and fighting about it. The goal with your money should be fairness. As I said earlier, especially if you have those pay gaps where one person is making way more than the other person, you want to be fair when you're dealing with money. You want to make sure that your spouse feels heard, right? That it fits their lifestyle, that they are happy with the way that the money is going, because you don't want to create that point of contention, like I've said. You have to make sure that you're in alignment. So priorities, goals are very close. I mean, they're probably not going to be exactly on the money 100% in terms of agreeability, but that you guys at least are working towards something, right? And whatever you're working towards, you're staying with it. Keep it simple. One of the main reasons why people are not successful with money management, why they don't stick with it, is because it's too complicated and it doesn't fit their lifestyle. So keep it simple and make sure it fits your lifestyle. Like I said earlier, set the expectations. You want to know what you're going into, right? The wrong time to figure out how you're going to survive a boat crash when you're on the boat is not when the boat has a hole in it. It's before you get off the shore. So figure it out up front so that you know where you're going. I love surprises, but not when it comes to my money. So no surprises with this process. Don't blindside your partner, and then be leery of money power, right? When you have money, when there are money power issues, there also tend to be underlying ego issues. You oftentimes see money power issues when somebody is making way more than their spouse. You have somebody that works outside the home. You have somebody that works inside the home. So maybe you have like a stay-at-home mom or dad, and then you have the CEO spouse. So be leery of that. You also see money struggles when people come from different types of money backgrounds. So maybe I was very poor and my spouse wasn't, or vice versa. And then when somebody isn't working, so if somebody loses their job, you know, people tend to get the big head. Well, I get to make the decisions because I make the money. Pump your brakes. Just relax. Be leery of that, so that if you are going through one of those things and you're on the receiving end, or, you know, you're on the opposite end, you know how to handle that. And then the last thing that I want to leave you with is do the work. When you are lazy, when you choose to take a back seat or a passive role, that's when you don't get what you want. That's when you give your voice away. So if you know that you tend to be laid back, or you know that you really don't like money management and you really don't like budgeting, you need to make sure that what you want is clearly communicated, and that you are being intentional with what you're saying, and that you are taking an active role, because you don't get to be lazy and passive and laid back. And then when your partner makes a decision that they didn't think you would have an issue with, now you have a problem. Okay. So hopefully this helped. Marriage can be easy. Money can be easy. It is something that you have to develop. It is something that you have to work on, but you absolutely can do it. Okay. I hope this helped. I could not see any comments tonight. It's something going on that says swipe left. Oh, swipe left to reveal the comments. Okay. So I see them now. So thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, Rhonda. Thanks for watching, Candy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully this helped you. I love you guys. Be safe. Be careful. Give yourself grace this week. And I will see you next week for Money Monday. Thank you, Candy. Bye-bye.